Hey guys, how's it going? Back again with something I want to share with you guys that I was just talking to a client of mine, something that doesn't get enough talked about. So let's go. So I've talked about Littermate syndrome before, but we're going to talk about it again because it doesn't get talked about enough. So Littermate syndrome is a phenomenon that happens between two or more dogs that are close in age. So Littermate syndrome is a little bit of a misnomer because it doesn't have to be two dogs from the same litter. It's about two dogs that are very close in age. So I always say like less than a year apart. So you could have a 2-year-old. No, let's say you have a 1-year-old. Let's choose two breeds that people are in love with and think are perfect and could never have any problems. So let's say that you have a 1-year-old golden doodle and you're like, you know what, I'm ready for another puppy. Our family needs another dog. So then you go out and adopt a 6-month-old golden retriever. You know what you're going to get? Littermate syndrome. So it doesn't have to be two dogs from the same litter. However, that is the reason why I refuse to sell two dogs from the same litter together. And let me tell you, as a breeder, that can be tempting sometimes. But this is when breeders need to educate themselves and then stand on business when it comes to selling their pups. I had on my last litter a gentleman reach out and he was like, I want 4 of your puppies right now, cash in hand, let's go. You know how tempting that is? As a single woman who's running a farm herself and has a family and kiddos to support, that's a tempting thing. But if you want to be an ethical breeder, it's not worth it. Okay, so that's what Littermate syndrome is. Let's talk about what it looks like. So what Littermate syndrome looks like is usually you'll have one dog that is very bold, very dominant, very secure, very outgoing, is absolutely the leader of the group, and dogs are hitting my tripod again. And then usually the other dog is like, obviously the second in command is usually quite submissive, subservient to that other dog, more shy, lacks confidence. You may see then between the two resource guarding, which is also more commonly known as food aggression. You'll see that, but it's not always about food. It can be about the water bowl. It could be about a food dish. It could be about a treat. It could be about a particular piece of furniture that they're guarding, and it can be people. It can be you. If you're sitting on the couch and your one dog jumps up to sit next to you and the other one's like, that's my mom. You're not sitting by her. And then a fight breaks out. So that is absolutely another thing that resource guarding can look like, and that's something that very commonly is found in Littermate syndrome. So very, very common things, and that's how you see it. How do you break it? How can you combat the issue? It takes a ton of work. So if you're somebody that is still says, hey, I'm still doing this, I'm getting two of the same age, or I'm getting two from the same litter, be prepared that if you don't want to see this happening, that you put in the work. That means a ton of one-on-one training apart from each other, okay? Because you want confident dogs on both ends of this. So especially the one that's lacking in dominance, you want to work with that one. All right, I had to take a mom break. So it's important to take them and do a lot of training separate from each other. And I don't care if that's a golden doodle. I don't care if that's an Anatolian shepherd dog. I don't care if it's a boxer mix that you got from the shelter. I don't care what the breed of dog is. You need to separate them and have lots and lots of time training apart from each other. You want to break that bond. You want to break that dynamic as much as possible. You need them to be able to grow into competent dogs and secure dogs without depending on that other one and depending on each other all the time. So that's so important. Now, a client of mine, she's been having an issue with Littermate syndrome for a long time. She's been fighting with this for a long time, and she's an amazing owner. She has put more work into these two dogs that she's having issues with. She's put in more work than most owners would do. And she's very, very knowledgeable, and she's very, very equipped, and just amazing. I can't speak enough about how great she's doing with this. But the problem is when she got these two dogs a while ago, this was before she even knew what Littermate syndrome was. She had never even heard of it before. So she has now these two livestock guardian dog males that are taking it upon themselves to just try to chew each other from one end to the other. And it's been fights and brawls. And when you're dealing with Anatolian Shepherds, fighting and brawling is not something that you want to really toy with. It's going to happen, it's inevitable, but it's not ideal and it's not a great day. So she has said, like, why isn't there enough education about this? And I agree with you. And so that's why I'm putting this video out. Again, another video. Because it's not, Littermate syndrome is not just something that you can be like, okay, I'm going to work with this. I'm going to work at this for 3 months and then we're just going to cure it and it's going to be gone. Because that's not the way it is. This is a dynamic now that you are going to be fighting and dealing with for a very long time. And the other issue with Anatolian Shepherd dogs, most livestock guardian dogs, but especially the Anatolian, is they hold grudges like I've never seen. So like she said, they got in this big fight and you know, their fights are really ugly and oftentimes end in very expensive vet visits. And I always tell people after a fight, make sure that you separate them because those hormones, those endorphins, that like rage high stays flowing in the body for an amount of time. So separate them and don't let them back together. But she said it's like now that they're like out for each other. They just look at each other and they're like, let's go. And that's 100% what happens. I have females on my farm that have gotten into fights and they'll never, ever be able to be with each other again because now they just hate each other. And now they literally just have this grudge that they'll never get over. And they're like that. They can be like that with people. They can be like that with other dogs. They just hold on to that forever. So once that happens, it's not fun and it's very hard. Now, my client is hoping that she can one day fix this and they can go on to have an amicable relationship again. And I hope that for her too. And she's going to continue working at it and do everything in her power. But sometimes you just can't do it. They can never work together again. They can never be besties again. And that's just unfortunately somehow or sometimes how it is. I really don't like it when people are like, well, yeah, it's because you have two males. That's just how it is. That's false. That is 100% false. The most common, the most successful pack, if you're trying to round out a pack because you need it for predation, the best is two males and a female. That's like the best. Female-female relationships are very, very difficult, but male-male relationships are not at all difficult. The reason that my client is having a hard time is because of the Littermate syndrome of her two males. They're so close in age that this is why she's having the issue. And now this is why she's going to have to work so hard to try to come out on the other side of this. So just buyer beware, you know, make sure you educate yourself before buying two dogs that are close in age. And breeders out there, educate yourselves and don't be money hungry and think, well, I've got to, you know, with livestock guardian dogs, it's not unusual for people to need a pack of dogs. You need more than one if your predation is heavy. So I'm not saying don't get two, but I'm saying space them out. If you're at a situation on your property and you're like, I need something now today, the wolves are coming, the coyotes are coming, get an already trained adult and then add a puppy in. But make sure your spacing is just at least a year apart. That's what you really need to do to be successful. Don't get two puppies and start tossing them out somewhere together because in the long run, you are going to have an issue. It probably won't be right away, but you will have it starting once they get a little more older and a little more mature. You will face this issue. It's just kind of how it is. So just educate yourselves before selling out their breeders. Educate yourself before buying. And just try. And if you're already in the situation and you're seeing these issues pop up, or even before you're having issues, reach out, start educating yourself, try to be proactive on it, and go to others that can give you some more information that maybe know more about it. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And if you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out. I'll help in any way I can. Thanks, guys.